So committee after committee in the House of Representatives is approving their portions or their drafts for the $1.9 trillion upcoming stimulus bill or stimulus bills. I will give them this. They are completing their drafts very quickly, and they are setting themselves up to be completely done with this in a little over a week for the February 22nd deadline to introduce the entire bill in the House of Representatives. Now, the House Ways and Means Committee, which is made up of 43 members of the House of Representatives, 25 Democrats and 18 Republicans, was responsible for $940 billion of the $1.9 trillion bill. Portions of their responsibility were the stimulus checks and things like the unemployment boost. And just yesterday, the House Ways and Means Committee did in fact approve their $940 billion portion of the $1.9 trillion bill. They did it right along party lines. 25 Democrats voted for it, 18 Republicans voted against it, but that does mean now that the $1,400 stimulus checks and the unemployment boost are officially going to be in the bill that's going to be introduced the week of February 22nd. The Education and Labor Committee, which is most notably responsible for drafting the portion of the bill which would increase the minimum wage from $7.50 to $15, did in fact approve their portion of the bill, so that means the federal minimum wage will be introduced as well. I don't think it's going to be in the same bill that the stimulus checks and the unemployment are going to be in. I don't think it's going to pass the muster of going into a bill that can get through reconciliation. I think the minimum wage is going to have to get through and pass through the Senate through the normal 60 votes. However, that's yet to be seen. Is there a way to get through that? I don't know. All I can tell you is that it has in fact been approved and it will be introduced into a bill. The Energy and Commerce Committee, they were responsible for drafting about $180 billion of the $1.9 trillion bill. Their responsibility, things like vaccine funding, DNA mapping, also a little bit on the Affordable Care Act, improving its accessibility to individuals and its affordability, and also DNA tracing. They're trying to see if they can figure out which viruses are spreading throughout the United States, and that portion of the stimulus bill being approved of as well. Now, Republicans have, with futility, been trying to stop these sections of the bill from being passed through the committee votes. However, it's not working. The way they've been trying to stop it is by adding amendments to the bill. So basically, if we're going to pass this section, we need to do this, that, and the other thing, or it needs to be subject to this restriction or that restriction. However, all of these amendments have been voted down. And then, of course, when it brings to the vote in the committee, the Democrats overrule the Republicans. They have control of the House of Representatives and control of these committees. So every single portion of this stimulus bill so far has been cleanly getting through the House of Representatives, which means when this bill, and they are going to be on time with this bill because these committees are going quick right now. I mean, this is what we were talking about when we said they're going to fast track this thing. They are in fact fast tracking it. I know our government moves slow, but these committees are writing these drafts and approving them at record pace. So when the House comes back into session on February 22nd, they are almost certainly going to have this bill ready, if not on February 22nd, a day or two after that. And if all the committees are passing their bills through, or at least their draft portions of the bill, the entire House of Representatives will approve it as well. And then, of course, after that, it's going to be introduced into the Senate where it's going to face its toughest battle. But I do believe that Democrats and Republicans are going to vote right along party lines in the Senate as they will in the House, which means it will, in fact, pass the Senate. This is the toughest battle it's going to face because Democrats, moderate Democrats, most famously Joe Manchin, are a little bit hesitant to pass too much stimulus. Now, the stimulus checks are a little bit more targeted this time, not in the sense of the minimum wage requirement. It's $75,000 again for single filers, $150,000 again for joint filers, and everyone's included. Social Security, SSI, SSDI, veterans, survivors, everyone's included. That was included in the last one, is included in this one, including adult dependents as well. However, the stimulus checks are going to phase out a lot faster. So once you reach over $100,000 single filer, done. You're not going to receive any money. Once you get over $200,000 filing joint, done. You're not going to get any more money. Is that enough for the moderate Democrat known as Joe Manchin to vote yes in the Senate for this bill? I think if it wasn't enough, that he would have let them know, because they're going through a lot of work to do this. So in my opinion, they already know that Joe Manchin's going to vote for this. I mean, guys, they're not just like throwing it up in the air and then hoping and praying that Joe Manchin's going to vote for this thing. They are talking to him. Nancy Pelosi is talking to him. Say, Joe, listen, this is what we're doing. We targeted it this way. We're going to get a lot of things through. Just let me know that you're going to vote for it. And Joe is going to talk to her in private and say, Nancy, I'm going to vote for it. Okay, listen, I'm a moderate. I'm going to voice my opinion. I'm going to let everyone know what I think. I don't want to go too crazy with this, but of course, I'm going to vote for it. At the end of the day, my ideals are very similar to your ideals. I'm not going to be the one that's going to throw this thing off the train tracks. They already know he's going to vote for this thing, or they are wasting their time completely. And I highly doubt, with the opportunity that's in front of them, with owning the House and the Senate majority at this point, that they're going to waste their time like that. And once this reaches the Senate, probably right around the week of March 1st, and they pass it through, it will go directly to Joe Biden, and he will sign it very quickly. I think early March is when he signs this thing, maybe March 5th, something like that. And the stimulus checks are going to go out very soon after that. This does bring into question when you should file your taxes. Now, if you're a tax filer, I'm going to tell you this right now. This is something that I'm playing around with myself. So I'll just give you some advice that I'm listening to in my own life. You need to determine when you're going to file your taxes. Some of you may have already have done it. Of course, the IRS is only now just beginning to deal with 2020 tax returns. So mid-February is the first time in which anyone should really be doing it. Most people listening to me have not filed their taxes yet. If you believe that you did better in 2020 and you might be affected by earning too much more money in 2020 to get the stimulus check, you are going to want to wait off as long as possible in order to file your 2020 taxes, because they will take your 2020 information if you file it early enough. However, if 2020 was a bad year for you and you did far worse, and that might actually increase your stimulus check or get you into the stimulus check, then you want to file your taxes earlier. For most people, it's probably not going to matter neither here nor there. In addition, though, they are also increasing the child tax credits, $3,600 for children under 6 and $3,000 for children under 17. Now, we don't officially know if they're going to be able to get this in by the 2020 tax season, but they might be able to do it. It might be written on the tax code, and you might be able to get a greater refund because of that. It's one of the reasons I'm actually going to be holding off on my taxes as well. So I had a date picked out, and then I called up my accountant, and I pushed it back just a little bit to see how all this runs through. A little bit later for me is not going to be a big problem, but you all need to decide. I mean, some people need to get that refund as quick as possible, and depending on how much you earned, you make that decision. If you have questions about that, leave it in the comment section below. A lot of people who watch this channel have really good insight. I am very impressed by what I see individuals sharing with each other. I mean, even questions like, you're like, I didn't get this done, or this is going on, and someone's going to pop on and they're going to give you exactly what you need. So post your questions below. Someone is likely to respond to you. If not me, someone else who's watching the channel. Now, don't just take everything you hear as fact. You need to check on it yourself, but it might be some really helpful information to lead you in the right direction. As always, thank you for coming along with me. I will catch you next time.